New York Giants fans, I know that this time of year with the draft, everything can get crazy. It's lion season. People are saying weird things. What I find extremely interesting is all of the people who have now become more technical about the game, who now look at some of these prospects with the eye of someone who has done it for years and years and years. This is not a diss at people who are trying to break into film evaluation or talent breakdown or draft analysis. But did I miss something? When did everybody become a scout? I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I definitely have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I'm Coach Gene Clemons. New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information. Make sure you go over there, check everything out, check everything that I'm doing out over there with my Big Blue analysis and my good, great, and uglies and all of the things that I'm bringing to you as content, especially during draft season right now, that we are neck deep in, right? Neck deep in. Um, I find it interesting because as somebody who played football for a very long time, as someone who still coaches football, who's coached football in college, who has coached football at the high school level, but more importantly, who has kind of not branded myself, but been known by others as someone who can identify and evaluate talent. From the moment I started coaching, my very first year of coaching, I had an interview at a college in New York. This was an FCS school in New York. My first job was teaching and coaching at a post-grad boarding school in Maine, Bridgeton Academy. Fantastic academy, been around for over 200 years. Shout out to the Wolverines up there at Bridgeton Academy. But after my first year there, I actually had a job interview for a college job at a school in New York. I won't say the name because ultimately it's not that important, right? What was important was that they put a piece of film on. They wanted to see me look at and evaluate a prospect that they were looking to bring in. And I looked at the film of this young man, and within a good 30 seconds, I had probably seen maybe 3 clips. Within a good 30 seconds, I said, "Hold on," and I stopped him. I said, "Hey, what position is this person supposed to play for you?" And they were like, "Well, he's a safety." And I was like, "Yeah, but he's not a safety. Like, y'all could tell that this dude is never going to be on the third level for you guys. This guy's going to like play linebacker for you because he doesn't have this." And I went into all the reason I felt that way, and they looked at each other and they were like, "Huh." And I didn't get that job. I didn't get that job, and thank goodness, because it was in New York City, and it was not a lot of money, and I was going to have to live a very meager lifestyle in order to pull off that gig. And I think maybe there was a different road for me anyway. But I remember not getting that job, but I remember talking to the head coach, and the head coach told me, he said, "Hey, you have a unique ability to see through what people are showing you and identify who they truly are." And I thought that was a great compliment, and I've tried to hold on to it over my life, right? And this isn't to toot my own horn. It's to say that I've done this for a very long time. When it comes to player evaluations, when it comes to breaking down skill sets, I've done it for a very long time. And I've been pretty darn good at it. everywhere from youth league kids to high school kids to college players and projecting guys going into the next level, my hit rate is pretty nice. I have been able to see where people can and cannot be successful. I have placed players in positions to play things that they weren't playing before, that they did much better at because that is where they needed to be from the beginning. I have sacrificed my own personal or my team's own well-being in order to place players in positions that were better going to suit them if they ever wanted to go to college, right? So it's interesting to me to hear so many people who don't have these types of backgrounds, who never played the game, who never coached the game, who never were paid to evaluate, who I don't even know if you have proper film to break down and evaluate prospects. Talk about some of these prospects as if you absolutely positively know they're going to be successful or they're not going to be successful, that they work for your team or they don't work for your team. It's weird. I've never heard it at the level that I've heard it this year. And this is why. It's because for whatever you guys want to say about him, Shedeur Sanders moves the needle at a level where not only does everyone feel they have to have an opinion on him, they feel as if they have to justify the opinion on him by giving you the opinions on other prospects that they think might be better than him. I've never seen it. When did everybody become a scout? What did I miss? Where were all of these people at these showcases? Where are all of your work at? Show me the product. I just spoke with Matt Waldman, right? And I hope you enjoyed that episode. I just spoke with Matt Waldman. He says, hey, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if I know all of the positions. He focuses in on 4. All 4 of them are on the same side of the ball. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end. That's it. When you look at the rookie scouting portfolio that he puts out, it's those 4 positions. And that allows him to have better mastery of it because it's only those 4 positions. You know what? I don't even know why it took me so long to get into this, but on Monday, tune in, 7 o'clock a.m. I will be with Emory Hunt of Football Game Plan for my 100th show, my 100th Giant issue on the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel. 100 episodes. I'm going to be talking with Emory Hunt, Football Game Plan, CBS Sports. We're going to be talking about him dropping the industry standard Football Game Plan Scouting 2025 Pro Football Draft Guide. He's got over 1,200 player evaluations in this thing. It is by far the most comprehensive piece of pre-draft breakdowns that you will get. Bigger than the Beast, bigger than all of these other ones. 1,200. That is massive. And I'm so excited that I get to share my 100th episode with Emory. So make sure that you jump in at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. first thing in the morning on Monday morning. Myself, Emory Hunt, we get it popping. You're going to want to be there. I'm so excited. Thank you to all of you who've come along on the ride for the 100. We're gonna keep doing it. But even Emory Hunt will tell you, he doesn't always get it right. He doesn't always know until he knows, right? Because sometimes how a player does isn't based off of, in the NFL, isn't based off of talent. It's based off of opportunity. Sometimes the opportunity is there, but the fit isn't. Sometimes the fit is there, but the opportunity is not. So all of these things come into factor, or the opportunity is there, the fit is there, but there's health issues. All of these things come into play when we talk about talent. We talk about talent evaluation. It's not an absolute science. Hey, newsflash, we've gotten things wrong, but the things that I get wrong are not based on talent. The things that I get wrong are usually based on opportunity that gets masqueraded as, oh, that person never had enough talent. It's really interesting. I'm gonna show you how strange the world is. The year that Baker Mayfield was taken #1 overall. You want to know who Baker Mayfield was comped to by Lance Zierlein? He comped Baker Mayfield to Doug Flutie. And then in the same analysis said that he was the #1 quarterback in the draft. That same draft, Lance Zierlein comped Lamar Jackson to Michael Vick. And then went on to say that that Lamar Jackson was a first to second round pick. How can you comp someone to the #1 overall pick, right? A guy who changed the game, who revolutionized the position, and think that he's a borderline first round pick. Meanwhile, take a guy who you comped to a dude who did not get a chance in the NFL, went to the Canadian League, lit it up, then came to the NFL, had some really good years. That one is the #1 overall pick. These things don't always make sense. And so you have to ask yourself, what is it about Shedeur Sanders that makes everybody think that they can be a scout? The new thing now is, oh, well, he patted the ball a lot at his pro day. Who cares? Who cares if he pats the ball a lot at his pro day? Oh, well, if he pats that ball like that, the defensive backs are going to see it. Really? So then when a pro comes in and tries to tell people this isn't the actual truth, and shout out to Darius Slayton for coming out and saying, hey, this is ridiculous that y'all are talking about him patting the football, right? Because if he's behind an offensive line and he carries the ball naturally, as a defensive back running backwards or even backpedaling backwards and looking into the backfield, when do you see him pat the ball? If I'm here, like right now, where I am right now on screen, can you really see my hands? So when I pat it, did you see it? Did you see me pat the ball? Because I'm trying to figure out how you're looking at the quarterback pat the ball with the offensive and defensive linemen flying around, with you paying attention to wide receivers rolling around, when you're communicating with other defenders. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It also doesn't make any sense because this is the first time I've ever heard anybody do any analysis on a quarterback patting the ball at a pro day. I've never heard it before. I 1,000% guarantee you, you will find other quarterbacks, including Cam Ward, patting the ball at the pro day. Hey, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, both have the exact same quarterback coach. Which means if you ever notice, they warm up the exact same way. They go through all the exact same drills. So why is it an issue that Shedeur Sanders is patting the football? All of a sudden now we have everybody who's able to evaluate the quarterback position and go, hey, he patted the ball. Oh my gosh. But it's not just that. Everyone said, hey, arm strength. He doesn't have an arm strength. He has a weak noodle arm. He can't throw the ball. Even though you can see video, right? You didn't even need a pro day for this. You can go back and watch Colorado highlights and see Shedeur Sanders throw the ball deep, right? Cool, I'm fine. So then he gets into his pro day and he makes a few throws that are 50 to 55 yards in the air. They catch receivers in stride, or they hit receivers in stride. You want to know what the talk became afterwards? Well, now we're trying to act like 55 yards is really a lot. Oh, well, I don't want my quarterback to only be able to throw the ball 55 yards. The goalpost is here, and then you just move the goalpost. You're like Wendy every time Charlie Brown tries to run up and kick the football. You just move the football out the way. If that's the case, then he can't win. Just say, hey, I don't want him. I don't care about his skill set. I don't care if he's good. I just don't want him. And then I'll respect you and say, oh, you just don't like his personality. Cool. But you don't have to hide behind the knowledge of football to recognize that, come closer. Nobody should be throwing the ball 50 yards in the air on a fade ball on a consistent basis. The fade route should be completed somewhere around 30 to 35 yards down the field. If you have to complete a fade ball 55, 60 yards down the field, that means that you were super late on throwing the fade ball. That means you were super late on throwing the deep shot. Guess what the deep shot is usually never? It's never the second, third, fourth option in your route progression. You don't go, hey, I'm gonna go look at the slant. Then I'm gonna look at this out. Then I'm gonna look at the dig. Then I'm gonna go to the deep route. The deep route is never the fourth option. You want to know when the deep route becomes the fourth option? When you start scrambling, when you start trying to make things happen, when the play breaks down. That's when the deep ball becomes the fourth option. That's when that's when you might see somebody have to yank the ball 60 yards to get it out there. But guess what should not be happening if you operate an offense regularly? Guess what you won't have to do? Throw that ball. Throw that ball. There are plenty of examples of quarterbacks who never throw that ball and have tons of success in the league. Tons of success. Right? For as much as you all love him, Joe Burrow never throws that ball, the ball that launches 60 yards in the air, never. And yet, many people have Joe Burrow at the tier, at the level of Lamar Jackson, at the level of Patrick Mahomes, even at the level of Josh Allen now that he is an MVP winner. And Joe Burrow hasn't won a championship, hasn't won an MVP. Now, do I think that Joe Burrow is one of the best in the league? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think he's one of the most talented. Absolutely. And I don't think his arm is all that strong. I don't think his arm is anywhere near any of those three guys that I just named. Lamar Jackson can absolutely fling it. It is the most underrated part of his game that he somehow does not have this arm. That dude is arm strength personified. He's that slight frame, that whip motion, that ball leaves his hands with heat and it goes a far way. Nobody ever really talks about it. All they talk about is his running. But if you just said arm strength for arm strength and gave me Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, I'm taking Lamar Jackson. Does that mean that I think Lamar Jackson throws overall better thrower of the football than Joe Burrow? No, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. But if we're just talking arm strength, which is the argument on why Shedeur Sanders is not the guy, then we've seen this story before. You can be successful, yet all of the internet and Twitter GMs pointing out arm strength and how 55 is now not enough. If he had thrown the ball 65 yards, would that have been enough? Right? If he had thrown the ball 70 yards, would that have been enough? What would have satisfied the people if they went to his pro day and saw him throw the ball? You know what I saw at his pro day that had absolutely nothing to do with him throwing the football? I saw poise. I saw command. I saw respect. I saw poise. I saw command. I saw respect. His pro day had every single scout and multiple teams brought their entire contingency, including New York. And in a room full of NFL personnel, in a room full of press, full of content creators with cameras everywhere, he was poised, right? He showed leadership. Like, he showed ability to function, the ability to be unfazed. That's before we get into any of the arm talent. When was the last time you saw that out of a Giants quarterback consistently? Poise, leadership, ability to be unfazed by the moment, unfazed by the crowd. When was the last time that you saw that from the quarterback position? Right? Because Shedeur Sanders hears everything and admits to the fact that he hears everything. But do you think that he allows it to get in the way of his performance? The answer is no. The answer is no. In fact, he's been proving everyone wrong at every single turn. So now, because we have to evaluate Shedeur Sanders unfairly, we all of a sudden now have to be able to evaluate the people we think should be taken ahead of Shedeur Sanders. The number one guy that keeps coming up is Abdul Carter. And while I believe that Abdul Carter is a talent, I think he's the worst pick for the Giants. I think he's the worst pick for the Giants. I'm gonna break it down to you why I believe so now. Number one just becomes economy, right? You paid a defensive end, and you guys have heard me say this before, but you've paid a defensive end $100 million to be the man. You took a defensive end or an edge, whatever you want to call these guys now. You took him with a top 10 pick. He's in year 4. You took him with a top 10 pick. He's in year 4. He already has a season with more sacks than Jadeveon Clowney has ever had. Jadeveon Clowney, the can't-miss prospect, right? Who in his career 4 times, I believe, and this is off the bone, 4, maybe 5 times had 9.5 sacks out of a double-digit career, but normally is somewhere around 5 and 6, where you guys say that's not good enough. He's had more sacks than Jadeveon Clowney. He's had more sacks than Burns. He's going into year 4. He's 23 years old. So now you're going to you're going to spend another top 5 pick on a defensive end. So now you can't have all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time. Hey, I know a lot of y'all are trying to compare that to when the Giants had Osi Umenyiora and Justin Tuck. And here's the difference with those dudes. All of those guys were legitimate size defensive ends. And some of them, because they were a legitimate defensive end, not an edge rusher, had the ability to move inside. So you could play them all at the same time. If you bring in Brian Burns and say you want to get sexy and go with a speed rush lineup, you're going to move Kayvon Thibodeau in and have him play 3 technique? How does that work? How is that helping Kayvon Thibodeau be the best he can be? So now that doesn't even really make sense. Also, what makes sense, how does Brian Burns get you more wins? Because the problem that this defense had is not the ability to get sacks. The problem that this defense has is that the offense didn't put up enough points to allow the defense to be able to play against a team that was forced to pass the ball. And now they have to be on their heels to stop the run because the team has a lead and now we're just going to pound them into submission. Does Abdul Carter make this defense a better defense against the run from the edge position just because he hustles to the ball? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. You think he's fitting and shedding base blocks from 6'7", 315-pound offensive lineman, 320-pound offensive lineman? I doubt it. He's going to have the same type of struggles that any other edge rusher would have, right? Because they're edge rushers, they're not defensive ends. They're not defensive ends. So the fact that the Giants went out and got defensive ends in free agency to come in and couple with these edge rushers means, why am I spending the money on Abdul Carter? But let all the Twitter GMs say it. He's the unquestioned pick. He's the generational talent. People are saying that he's a generational talent in a draft that has the real legitimate generational talent, Travis Hunter. Now, if you told me, hey, Travis Hunter, I think he's the pick, I go, cool. I'm good with it. That's great. I'm still going to ask you the question, though. Who's your quarterback after this year? Who's going to throw him the ball after this year? Because if you want to take Travis Hunter, cool, good, great. Who's going to throw the ball to him once we get past this year? Right? Once we get past this year. And before you say somebody in 2026, the 2026 class is not on this class's level when you talk about those top 2 at the top. And don't give me, well, those 2 at the top wouldn't have been anything in the last draft. That's because you just started playing scout. You don't understand. Shedeur Sanders was a better prospect than Bo Nix last year. He was a better prospect than J.J. McCarthy last year. Cam Ward wasn't even as high as Shedeur Sanders was last year. And if you don't believe me, go and look at some of your favorite draft nicks to follow and see where they had, like, go back to the old stuff, not now when they have revisionist history because they saw these guys play a season, right? Go back and see where they had Shedeur Sanders rated at last year compared to where they tell you they have him and Cam Ward rated this year. I guarantee you it'll open up some eyes. Cam Ward had declared for the draft and then decided to go back to the school. Why do you think that is? Shedeur Sanders never declared for the draft. You want to know why? It wasn't because he wasn't going to be a first-round draft pick. It was because he thought he had a chance to be the number 1 draft pick. It was before he probably realized that you guys and people, for whatever reason, were going to start hating on him because his last name is Sanders, and I still don't understand it. I still don't understand it. Hey, you guys realize, right? Deion Sanders has never really been in trouble with the law. Deion Sanders doesn't drink. Deion Sanders doesn't smoke or use drugs. Shedeur Sanders has never been in trouble with anything with the law. Shedeur Sanders isn't out getting drunk every night. Shedeur Sanders is a workaholic on this game. He likes to make music. He's not asking anybody to buy it. He doesn't care whether or not it makes money. He has infinitely more songs made than he has dropped. And yet, somehow, these are the people who are hated. And so now, Travis Hunter, listen, if you want to bring Travis Hunter in, I'm good with it. But don't give me the whole, hey, Travis Hunter, and then they're going to somehow magically make their way back into the draft to get Shedeur Sanders. Somebody is not going to let Shedeur Sanders drop that far. Somebody is going to get smart and go, we just got to do it. We just got to bring him. Like, I've done a thing where I say that there's a chance that he could drop to 21 to the Steelers. I don't think there's any chance that the Giants could get to 21 or get up beyond 21 without mortgaging so much of the future. And if you're going to mortgage the future to move back up into the first round to get Shedeur Sanders, shouldn't you just take him with the number 3 pick or trade down a few picks and then take him with that pick? Doesn't that mean that if you're willing to trade back into the first round, which is probably going to cost you a first round pick, maybe a couple seconds the next year, doesn't that mean you should just, not do it? I just wonder what the end goal is from Giants fans. And you guys can help me out with this. If you don't want Shedeur Sanders or any of these guys, and I'm telling you the next year doesn't look promising, which means you're trying to wait until 2027 for Arch Manning, what do you want to do in the meantime? I would like to win some games. I think Shedeur Sanders can help that happen, whether it's right now or whether that's in 2026. I don't care. I think he's the dude. If you don't think he's a dude, tell me some reasons other than he drifts in the pocket and come on, man. Everybody has bad habits that they get based off of what they're dealing with on a regular basis. Not everybody has the production. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have. New York Giants on SI. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information. Make sure you go there, check it out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 3,000 before the draft. That means that we have around, 20 days or less than 20 days. That's, let's say, less than 20 days. If we get 10, that's 200. No, we're gonna need more than that. We're gonna need like 50, 30 to 50 a day. That's not too big. It's millions of y'all out there. Make it happen, Giants fans. We want to see you here, Big Blue Nation. The draft is going to be fun. Don't forget, Monday morning, 7 a.m., 100th episode, Emory Hunt, Football Game Plan 2025 Pro Football Draft Guide will be out. Go to footballgameplan.com/draft guide to pick that up on Monday morning at 7 a.m. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're looking forward to it. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.